So I'm a cognitive neuroscientist, so I study how the brain implements the mind. So in other words, how brain processes result in perception, cognition, and in particular I'm interested in perception and how the brain creates the visual experience, the visual world that we experience all the time.
So my research is about what your brain is doing right now. So how you hear sounds, recognize words, and hopefully understand what I'm saying.
So my fascination is for the predictive aspect of the brain. So traditionally people have thought of the brain as a very reactive organ, that it reacts to incoming information and then processes that. And it's becoming more and more clear that that's not how the brain works, but that rather the brain is constantly trying to predict what's happening in the outside world and constantly trying to come up with the best possible model of the world. And yeah, in my lab, the Predictive Brain Lab, that is what we're studying, and I'm still very fascinated by that question.
So one of the most amazing things about the brain is how expensive it is to keep a brain fueled and ready for cognition, ready for thinking and action. So the brain's 2% of your body weight, but it uses 20% of the energy of the body. So 20% of the air you breathe, the food that you eat goes to fuel the brain. And yet, at the same time, everything that the brain does is aimed at efficiency, trying to use the minimum amount of energy. So these two things are incredible, that the brain is trying to be efficient, but it still uses 20% of the energy of the body.
Yeah, it's always difficult to predict the future, but I think one of the areas where there is a lot of movement now, a lot of excitement, is in artificial intelligence. So their developments from tech companies like deep learning by Google, etc., have really led to much smarter machines. And I think ultimately, I mean, they're smarter than they used to be, but they're still actually a lot dumber than human intelligence in many respects. And I think but now you see that more and more neuroscientists are interacting with AI people, and I think that could really be very exciting. So that if we can build computers that really mimic human intelligence, that could lead to tremendous breakthroughs, both in neuroscience and in AI, I think.
If I knew what the next breakthrough was, that I would have done it already. There's so many exciting things that are out there in the world. So one of the things that's really exciting me at the moment is brain stimulation. So the idea that we can use electrodes attached to the scalp or magnetic coils to stimulate the brain in particular ways to enhance our thinking, to enhance our language. I think this is a technique that has enormous potential. I don't think anyone has yet delivered what that technique can offer. There are other techniques for measuring the activity of the brain that are making enormous steps. So I think within the next 5 to 10 years, magnetoencephalography, a method for measuring magnetic fields generated by electrical activity in the brain, will go from being something that costs £1 million and requires thousands and thousands of pounds of liquid helium to operate, to being something that you can buy off the shelf from Amazon, put it on your head, and I think that will make an enormous difference as well. But these are all for the future. There's enough to keep me busy for now.